Welcome, Hudson Valley, to this week's edition of In Touch, the award-winning public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. This week on In Touch, I speak with Jaclyn Miller and Kropft-Zuckerman from the Maternal-Infant Services Network. The C.H.A.O.S podcast, Cultivating Health, Acceptance, Opportunity, and Soul, features the team of CAPP Community Health Educators and a variety of guest speakers. The C.H.A.O.S podcast aims to empower youth personally and professionally by discussing the topics most affecting their lives. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded conversation between Jaclyn, Lauren, and myself here on In Touch. Thank you for all the kind words shared in regard to In Touch officially being awarded the 2023 New York State Broadcasters Association Award for Outstanding Public Affairs Programmer Series as part of the 57th Annual Excellence in Broadcasting Awards. This recognition would not be possible without the incredible team here at Townsquare, all of our phenomenal guests that we learn and grow with every single week, and of course you, the listener. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just found us, thank you for taking part in the conversation and staying in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. We here at In Touch are all about, being in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. What better way to stay in touch with what's going on than by downloading the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station? Not only can you listen to this station live at any time using the app, but you can also listen to In Touch on demand. Besides In Touch, you can read daily articles about news, events, entertainment, and more that's going on in your community. And when the weather gets bad, you can use the app to check on weather reports and see which roads, schools, and organizations are closed. Your Townsquare Media app is the best place for concert tickets and events as well. We're constantly giving away tickets to the hottest shows in the area. Again, you'll have access to all of this if you just download the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station. In Touch is nothing without the support of the hundreds of listeners that we get on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for listening and taking part in the conversation. If you listen to In Touch through a podcast service such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a positive review. With more 5-star reviews on these platforms, the algorithms will work hard to promote our show and bring In Touch to new people. That and also sharing In Touch with your friends and family is so important. Just sharing our links and listening live each Sunday goes such a long way. Thank you for all you do to stay in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. Hello, Hudson Valley. You're listening to another episode of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We got a great episode for you guys today, and I am joined by two wonderful individuals. With us today, I have Jaclyn Miller, CAPP Youth Services Program Manager, and with Kropft-Zuckerman, Communications and Marketing Strategist with MiSN. How are you guys?
We're good. Thank you for having us.
Very well. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you guys here. I think this is going to make for a great episode, and we don't really talk about a lot of things when it comes to mothers, infants, and also, as we'll probably get into as well, safe sex. This is not a conversation that we have here on In Touch very often, so I'm really excited to get into that. This is new territory for the program, and I'm sure it's going to be very beneficial for everybody. I used the acronym earlier, MiSN, but that stands for Maternal-Infant Services Network. And the way we start up most of our episodes is with a bit of an overview. So for those who are unfamiliar with what the Maternal-Infant Services Network is all about, could you guys go into that for us, please?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, we just celebrated our 33rd anniversary of service to the community.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
November was a very special month for us, so we celebrated and thanked all of our staff and our clients for keeping us in business. We love what we do. We call it God's work, the work of angels, because we get to help people and make significant changes in many people's lives. So Maternal-Infant Services is a community-based nonprofit organization that was established in 1990 to improve birth outcomes and reduce racial and gender disparities that often result in infant and maternal mortality, preterm birth, and low birth weight babies. Our vision is to develop and sustain programs rooted in our community and commitment to equity across the Hudson Valley. Our mission, we build trusting relationships that form the basis of social transformation with a focus on family, community health, and wellness. So we're doing a lot of things.
A lot of different things. But that's great, though, because it covers such a broad demographic here within the Hudson Valley, and that's so cool. So can we get into what some of those key services and programs that you offer? And there's one in particular, which, Jaclyn, that's more your side, we'll definitely dive deep into. But Lauren, is there anything in particular you want to highlight as well?
Yeah, well, we provide services in the Mid-Hudson region with a focus on Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Sullivan, and Ulster counties. We have 6 programs, including the New York State of Health Insurance Navigation Program. So we're hooking people up with health insurance through the state of New York.
So important.
We have a Community Health Advocate Program, and that sometimes partners with our Insurance Navigation Program. Should we find through speaking with people who need insurance, do they need additional services? Do they need to hook up with a healthcare provider within their insurance network? Do they need assistance getting, proper doctors, proper, care, mental health? So we're hooking them up with all different kinds of community services that are out there and available through our Community Health Advocate Program. Our Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program, the acronym for that is CAPP, and they focus on youth services, and we'll hear a lot more from Jaclyn today on that and the great things they do. And then we have a Perinatal Infant Community Health Collaborative Program. That's where services for moms and infants come in. We have a wonderful program called the Baby Cafe. And moms,
that sounds fun.
Yeah, moms can bring babies, newborns in, and we help them learn about the benefits of breastfeeding. We'll even teach them how to breastfeed if it's not going so well initially.
Yeah.
So that is a major benefit to the community, and they're well attended. So we're happy to provide that. And then one of our newer programs is our Healthy Families New York program, and that's based in Putnam County. We have an office location in Brewster. And again, providing services to family, providing that mediation and advice and techniques on how families can conversate effectively to make change. We all go through those awkward times where communication isn't always at its best. So Healthy Families is there for that, and also to connect, these families with community services as well. So that's a lot again, but that's what we do. That's what we offer. And we provide all members of the community information, education, support, and referrals to achieve better health at every stage of life. From newborn to geriatrics, we're there for you. For more information or assistance and help, you can always contact us at our main office in Newburgh, 33 Broadway, at 845-561-3575, or you can always visit us online at www.misn-ny.org. And I must say, you can always visit us, and we'd appreciate this if you visit us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Oh, very good. And of course, all those links and information will be in the description of this episode. So it's just going to be so easy for you to go and get instead of having to find and reach and everything. But those are all terrific services. And again, a broad survey of so many different things. It's funny how, the general family unit, of course, that's how we've operated everybody for millennia. That's just how we reproduce. But how often we just need desperate help with it. How after all these thousands of years, we still haven't quite figured it out. Like, we are still like, somebody's a brand new parent. It's like, oh my God, what do I do now? Just figuring something like this out, or health, or anything along those lines. It always takes a village. And you're creating the villages right here and making things so accessible for people. And I think that's great. I think all the services are really wonderful. But for the sake of this episode, we're going to be really honing in on one of those services in particular. And we're going to be honing in on the CAPP Youth Services Program. And that's why we got Jaclyn here for that. So let's throw it over to you. If we could start diving into what CAPP is. If I got this correct, it's Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Youth Services Program. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Beautiful.
It's a very long title, but it's a lot of different work, and we're really excited about all the things that we're doing. Thank you again. The foundation and the mission of our CAPP team is to sustain healthy relationships by educating youth on personal and professional development to empower them in their dreams. Our CAPP team works with youth age 10 to 21 in Orange, Sullivan, and Ulster counties. We provide evidence-based programs. We hand out condom goodie bags. We talk about safer sex practices, reducing risky behaviors, health and wellness, sexual health, and positive youth development. So that's the very foundation of what we do.
No, that's terrific. I think with everything that's going on today, the way that programs are going when it comes to schools, sometimes health programs are being cut in schools. I know for sure we, growing up, we were kind of on the outs when it came to some of those programs. So it wasn't something that was emphasized nearly enough, especially for something so natural, so foundational for everything. The fact that it's so taboo and so weird to talk about and to get into, especially at those young ages, is kind of absurd to me, I think. Now that I'm a little bit older, it's like, to me, it should be more freeing. And I think that's something that you guys are trying to offer to make it the more freeing conversation that it ought to be, right?
Absolutely. So we do provide services in schools and libraries and community centers. One of the things that we're learning while we're trying to go into schools is that they might have a sex ed class, but it's 1 or 2 lessons for the entire year.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a very simple and foundational aspect. But it's also with a teacher you see every day. So you might not feel comfortable asking those awkward or deep personal questions that you would with someone that comes into your school, delivers a program, and then you never have to talk to again.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you might have the teacher who's like, you're very comfortable with them because you're always with them. But then also at the same time, what if you don't have that good rapport? What is that teacher going to think of me afterwards? Even if you do have a good rapport, but it's like, is that going to muddy things up afterwards? So yes, having a specialist able to come in, talk about that, and feel comfortable in doing so, that's really important. So you said that you do all these things in the community. You said 10 through 21. Yes. I got that right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to what you're showing them, we were talking about before we got onto the mic, one thing, just having like condoms available in your offices and all that. But it's more than just simply having condoms on hand. Safe sex and being responsible with one's sexuality goes far beyond just simply wearing a condom.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about everything from like the foundation and understanding of gender, sexuality. We talk about how to put a condom on, whether it's internal, external, dental dams. We talk about like the pill, the patch, the NuvaRing, whether that's preventing an unwanted pregnancy or if you're just preventing an STI. Yes. We have no judgment. I don't care personally how many times you're having sex or how many partners you have. That's not up to me to judge. But I just want to make sure that you are being safe in your choices. We also do a teen directory that we hand out with all of our condoms, which has LGBTQIA helplines, teen helplines. We just added a helpline to make sure that you're safe. So if you are in trouble or in an unsafe location, you text SAFE to that phone number, and then you can have access to someone that would be able to help you. But that's something that we put in with the condoms. We put in candy because who doesn't like candy?
Exactly.
But we do like a lubricated condom, a colored condom, a flavored condom, a large condom, a non-lubricated condom, lubricant, because it's all about the experience and it's all about knowing what's out there, enjoying your sexuality, because why not?
Absolutely.
And again, if you enjoy it, you're safer about it and easier to talk about.
Absolutely. And I think having the awareness and exposure to it helps demystify and helps take away some of that fear around something like that. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We're speaking with Lauren and Jaclyn with MiSN and CAPP Youth Services Program. And we've been talking a lot about the various programs that MiSN offers, and we're really diving deep into CAPP, which is Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Youth Services. And Jaclyn, what you were saying about like demystifying and showing things off and giving these youth, these teenagers 10 to 21 exposure to these things, tell us about some of the impact that has, like going around, as I'm sure you're working with the teens. What kind of reaction do you get from them out of something like this?
Yeah. So I think the biggest impact we're having or we're trying to have is reducing STIs, reducing unwanted pregnancies.
Yeah.
But also if you want to have a baby, whether you're a teenager, whether you're 42 years old or however, we're helping you understand like the consequences and like planning for that. And that's where we can network with our MiSN programs within house, but reducing the stigma of talking about these awkward conversations. What I like to do in my office with my team, shout out to Ashley and Katie. So proud of them. We have like awkward conversations, whether it's something that they've never discussed with their family or their friends, or I'll just ask them a very intimate question. And I'm like, what's your experience with it? Or like, how do we talk about these things with our youth? Because if you can't talk about it with each other on a professional level, how are you going to be able to communicate that to our students or our youth of our community?
Absolutely. And again, being able to have those conversations, as you said, in a professional manner and in an educational manner, if you can't have those in that way, then it's really difficult to have them in the personal and intimate manners, because it really does, it can hinder somebody in that case and be able to express themselves and then express themselves with their partner and have that kind of fluidity with it. I'll admit I was kind of blown away, you know, late in college or even now, like later 20s and everything. I'm still meeting people or talking with people or getting close with people and saying, it's like, I don't have experience in this, or they have no idea what this is, and it just kind of blows me away. It was like, I would have thought like at our ages is like, really, you don't know this? It was like, I never shame them or anything. It's like, okay, let's talk about it. But I know that my reaction is not always the most common reaction out of all of it as well. Some people will actually kind of shame somebody out of something, or maybe one of the reasons why they're not familiar with it is because there's a certain level of shame because of culture or religion or just whatever kind of background there might be that kind of hides it and demonizes it in a way. So what do you say to teens that come from a household where their sexuality is demonized?
That's a really good question. From the most part, we just say we want to educate them on anything, because there's no bigger fear than going into a conversation, whether you're in your 20s or 30s, and not knowing.
Yeah.
So it's better to understand, and if you are sexually active as a teenager, you're being safe. If your family doesn't want to talk to you about it, we are here to talk to you about it, whether you want to talk about it on a professional level, an educational level, or you can pretend that I'm in your family and we can go back and forth, and I can be that safe space for you if you need it. But again, we try and emphasize that everybody is your own person. If your parents didn't want you to have sex, but you are interested in having sex, that is your choice. It's your body. Just be safe about it and protect yourself and protect your partner.
Absolutely. And I think that's great that you offer such services. That's really important that one can talk about any of these things. And speaking of being able to talk about these certain conversations, you have a really great platform for that, the C.A.O.S podcast. Again, another acronym, and unfortunately, I don't have that in my notes. I'm realizing that's the one acronym I did not write down. Okay. What does the C.A.O.S podcast stand for, and what is the format like? What are those conversations meant to provide its listeners?
Yeah, so C.A.O.S stands for Cultivating Health, Acceptance, Opportunity, and Soul. It started off as just programs that we were implementing in after-school programs or in libraries, where it was a 1-hour session where we would talk about the different types of love or bullying or budgeting. So a whole wide spectrum of random stuff that we were bringing programs to our youth and our communities. And then we decided it would be a really good idea to just share our thoughts, or like we're doing here, just having a conversation with other professionals and reducing the stigma about talking about some of these more strange topics. So we post every other Friday. One of my health educators is our primary host, and she does an excellent job. We focus on bringing health awareness to our community, the discussion of fun topics. We had someone talk about women's health. We actually had our director of operations and executive director on our podcast talking about women in leadership roles and nonprofits. We had an individual from the Cornell Cooperative Extension come on and talk about caregiver education. So the conversations that parents and caregivers want to have with their youth, and how the youth want to have these conversations with their caregivers, and how we can kind of connect them and bridge that gap. And we've also had one with Planned Parenthood talking about sex education. Our last one we just posted on Friday was about the birth control methods.
Okay.
So it was very factual, very, this is what we have, this is what you have, this is what we have. These are the different methods. This is the percent of prevention and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so that's basically what we do on our podcast. Any conversation that we have a guest that wants to bring it up and talk to us about it. But again, we just want to stick to the primary focus of sexual health, positive youth development, and then health and wellness for our students. They're about 10 to 40 minutes long, depending on the conversation. And then we also post it on Spotify. So that's really great that we're on such a big platform like Spotify.
Absolutely.
Apple Music, I want to also say we're on. This would be a question for Katie, not for me, unfortunately. Amazon Music, and then you can find it in our Instagram bio, where we have like our link tree. We think we're very cool with that.
We use Linktree here too.
Good.
So
Okay, good. I thought it was like, I was so blown away when my health educator came up to me with this link tree.
Yep.
Everything we do is on our link tree.
Beautiful.
Our Instagram, our TikTok, our podcast. You can ask a health educator a question and we'll respond to you. We have our youth needs assessment that we have for students to fill out. So youth that are 10 to 21 years old in Sullivan, Orange, and Ulster, please fill out our youth needs assessment. That'd be really great. Thank you. But yeah, so it's great.
That's awesome.
Is awesome.
That's really cool. I think everything that you were saying with the podcast is great. The kinds of guests that you have really, again, just like MiSN as a whole, the survey that it offers, this podcast, I feel kind of synthesizes that and makes it easy to discuss those things and hear about those things. It's one thing when you're just reading something on a website. It's another thing when you're hearing an individual actually talk about that.
Yes.
It really does strip things down and make it much more human. Because otherwise it can just feel very black and white, reading on a computer screen or a phone screen or something, very mechanical, very robotic, very cold and distant. So actually having those conversations is very important. And even if you're just listening to it as somebody, whether you're in that 10 to 21 range or if you're a parent or caregiver that's trying to get some insight as well, even though you're physically not responding back to them, you're part of the conversation. You're hearing that. You're listening to that. You're learning from that. And I think that's great that that's being offered right now. What kind of influence have you seen from listeners, people who have taken the time to listen to this? What kind of response have you gotten from the community, whether that be youth or the caregiver side of things?
Well, it's hard to say since we only have about 8 episodes right now, so we're still growing.
Still growing. Beautiful,
yes.
though.
But it does bring in people to look at our TikToks and look at our Instagram posts, and those are very educational. And they're just like snippets of information for them to like take a peek at, and then it brings them to our MiSN website, and that brings them to all of our services and the resources and referrals that we can provide. So I think it's just another platform for youth and caregivers to connect themselves to the community.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do a lot of different educational aspects in our podcast, and again, it just destigmatizes that conversation, no matter what it is. And again, it brings us to our TikTok, and we're really proud of the fact we have a TikTok that has 23,000 views.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and that brings that conversation to like, that TikTok is a condom demonstration, which is insane that it has that many views. And we're like, we're just sharing information and having fun with it on like a daily basis. We do have the education, we have the resources, and we have fun sharing it with everybody.
And that's great. And that's the way to offer it. That's the way that's how other people can be happy and excited and energized to get into it themselves. And that's great. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We've been speaking with Jaclyn and Lauren with MiSN and CAPP Youth Services, talking about wonderful ways that they are helping the Hudson Valley community when it comes to sexual education, health education and just health awareness altogether. And again, we brought this up at the beginning of the episode where you could find stuff. And you mentioned the link tree. Of course, we will have that in the links and description of this episode. Is there any other way that people should be aware of when it comes to receiving any of the services that you guys offer?
I think Lauren said it best. Our website, our agency website, which again is www.misn-ny.org. You can contact anyone from Lauren about marketing stuff. You can contact me personally through my email, through my phone, about youth services, our CHA.O.S program, Navigator, Healthy Families, and Pitch program, all on our website.
That's terrific.
Do you just want to tell everybody what the handle is for the CAPP
yes.
Instagram?
Go for it.
And you can also definitely reach out to us on our Instagram or on our TikTok. It's the same handle for both. It's MiSN_CAPP.
Beautiful. Easy to find.
Yes.
I think that's terrific. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. Before we wrap up, do either one of you have any last little nuggets worth sharing with our In Touch listening audience that could be good for really any age group or any kind of tying a bow around anything we've talked about today?
I think the only thing that I would say is don't be afraid of the conversation. Just talk. There's nothing better than just having a good conversation about either safer sex practices or, how to fill out a resume. But it's good to be prepared. It's not always easy to do, but practice consent. Ask people if you want to have sex. Don't just do it. Wear a condom or another barrier method if you are trying not to get an STI or trying not to get pregnant. And if you are trying to get pregnant, you can contact our pitch team.
Terrific. Very good.
For MiSN as a whole, without you, there is no us.
Sure.
We're a network. We have a plethora of services to provide you, your families, your loved ones. We are full of knowledge. And like I said, we're angels on earth doing great work, and we're here to help you. So please take advantage of us.
Absolutely. And if you want to take advantage of any of the services that you guys heard today, check out the links and information into the description of today's episode. You can find it, of course, on our station websites under the In Touch and Listen on Demand tabs. Again, Jaclyn, Lauren, thank you guys so much for being here. And of course, happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Connor. Thank you for having us.
This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the award-winning public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to give a big thank you to Jaclyn and Lauren. For more information on MiSN, CAPP Youth Services, or to listen to the CAOS podcast, visit Linktree at MiSN_CAPP. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just joined us, thank you. You can find In Touch episodes new and old on your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. That and listen on demand on your Townsquare radio station mobile app. Of course, you can still find all articles and audio under the In Touch tab and Listen on Demand tab on this radio station's app and website. And don't forget, we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at InTouch_HV. I've been your host, Connor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time. Happy New Year.